the guitar scream. We're talking wrestling, living the dream. From Tokyo to London, across the globe, respecting the craft, we're in the know. No gimmicks or fakes, just pure passion and skill. The best talents from every wrestling hill. We dive deep into the stories behind the ring. Respecting the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, making the fans sing. Respect the craft, respect the fight. We bring the best, we can't hide.
And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 380, and we are joined once again by our good friend.
I got no audio.
Oh, do you not have audio? Oh, no. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. No, yeah, we're live. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Hold on one second. Let's do this.
Oh,
Bring them back. Can you hear us now? Hold on
I
one
got
second.
no audio.
Oh, no. Hold on. Let's make sure people can hear us online. No. Let's do one sec, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't be an episode without some technical difficulties. Gotta love it.
No. Oh no.
Oh, no, yeah, they can hear us. Okay. So, hold on. Hold on one second. Let's see one of these. Okay. Okay. One second, ladies and gentlemen, so we can fix the technical difficulties there. My apologies to everyone. Oh, gotta love it. But I'll wait for our lovely guest to get back, so that way, let's see. Can you hear us now?
I can.
Can you hear us? There we go. Okay.
There he is.
So now I can do the lovely intro. So what's going on, everyone? We are back with episode number 380 of Respect the Craft. We are joined once again by friend of the podcast. He is the innovator, the legendary. I still call him one of the greatest light heavyweight champions of JAP history. He is one of the minds behind Constant Pro Wrestling. We got Archadia. What's going on, brother?
I would not feel right without mentioning how headbangable your song is. And I think I say it every time. It's just so, I don't know if you like put it into some sort of formula, like some sort of app that gives you a formula that says this is the most headbangable beat. Make this song, but I'll tell you what, it's impossible to listen to your theme song without at least side headbanging.
Yeah. No,
It's so good.
I've always heard that. And it's one of those where it's like, it worked out thanks to
Maybe it's the beats per minute, or as us in the business say, the BPMs.
There you go.
I don't know. It's just so good. It's fantastic. Is it available on Spotify?
It is not. I keep meaning to upload it because I have the full 3-minute track, and
Yeah.
I just never upload it.
Can you?
Because I have that one, and I have
please
the.
do me a favor. Do me a
yes.
favor. Just upload it to Spotify so I can enjoy it on my morning drives.
We'll do. I have that, and I have the actual theme we got made for Respect Wrestling too. So I got to upload both of those because they're just there. We have them.
I would love it. I would love it.
But what's going on, man? It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been hectic. It's been chaotic. We at Constant Wrestling, the team that we have together has been really hard at work at trying to become more of a consistent product.
Yes.
And I'm happy to say that it's happening, and regardless of if we're ready for it, it is happening. We have shows lined up pretty much every 5 to 6 weeks starting in April. So April 11th is the next one. It's the big one. It's our last show at the building in Avenel that you were a part of, that you did commentary, and then we're gonna start in May taking over UWA Elite's building, the South River VFW, to run on a more consistent base. There it is.
There we go.
Right.
Look at that. I was going to bring that up. That again, that's a major announcement right there. You got the
Yeah, I mean it's exciting because as someone who grew up in the UWA Elite model of, you know, storytelling and monthly shows and a dedicated fan base, I'm hoping that we can live up to the same expectations, that, you know, fans are going to enjoy being there month to month, knowing that, you know, we're going to have consistent storylines instead of just one-off shows where, you know, there's not much backstory to a lot of the matches. It's kind of just, hey, let's, you know, these guys work well together, or these girls work together, let's put them together. I think the main goal is to, you know, be very consistent and try to develop more of an emotional attachment to what's happening with our product.
Got it. No, again, this is one of those things I remember we spoke about on the last episode, of seeing what Constant would look like going into 2026, and seeing, could we see more shows? Could we see this be as it became once a year at one point? But it's great to see that now we are going to see Constant more consistently and more constant now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the huge part about it is that we've had the conversations before about, you know, what Constant means to me and why I started it, and being able to, I think I equated it to, like, you know, you go to someone else's birthday party and it's all their friends, and you're friends with some of them, but you're not friends with all of them. You know, for me to be able to put on a monthly show, and give my friends and the people that I believe in the opportunity to not only now put on good matches, but, you know, tell great stories. I think that's the most exciting part of it.
No, very much. And again, that sentiment really, really is there. We spoke about it last time, but being at the show and getting to do commentary on the show, even from the moment I got there, it felt like that. It's like, oh, I know everyone here. And it was like that almost just reunion type feel of, man, I haven't seen this person in so long. Oh man, I miss seeing this person. And it's one of those that it's really that familiarity that just made it such a different feel all night.
Yeah, I mean, I know that eventually, especially with running every month, it's not going to be as familial.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, I always run the people that I book through a test. If I see them and I immediately want to give them a huge hug, then I will book them. If it's someone who, you know, and obviously there's going to be like offshoot people who don't exactly fit that mold, because it is a business and we're trying to, you know, get people in the seats, and we're going to book people that have an established fan base and are good workers outside of the Constant bubble. But overall, I think the core of our roster is based on, you know, I just love them as people. You know, they're great performers, and I just want to give them the ability to, you know, do what they do, because I believe in them and I want them to have that opportunity.
No, definitely. And again, we're starting to see a little bit of that mix, especially with the card that we're going to be talking about in a little bit.
Exciting.
And it's a stacked card. Again, that's been the, again, pun intended, the constant at Constant Pro Wrestling, as we've seen just stacked cards and just a nice mix of talent here. And here we go.
I'm really excited. I think it's a good mix of styles. It's a good mix of personalities. And I'm honestly really excited to see how each match kind of unfolds.
Definitely. And here we go. We got some comments already. Shout out to my good boy Ketty in the chat. What's going on, brother?
We're back.
And then we got the champ. We got Questy Asante in the chat. What's going on? What's going on?
The champ is here.
There he is. He's there.
The big fella.
But we got some things to talk about here, especially as we have, again, full card we're going to be talking about just in a sec with the Renaissance right there. And again, just look at that poster. Like, that is a stacked poster right there, stacked lineup. And let's start getting into it with this one, as it's a wrestling and recovery showcase. Wrestling and recovery definitely always felt and always appreciated to have in the house with Constant Pro Wrestling events. And look at that. We got TJ Blade, All Go Nelly. We got Mr. Miller, Victor Atlas, and Robbie Roller. Interesting with this one because Mr. Miller and Victor usually they're very much a tag team. So I want to see how that's going to work out when it comes to this showcase here.
Well, so it is a 3-way tag team match.
Okay, that's
Yeah. So I maybe the whoever made the graphic probably didn't do a great job of explaining what the situation is. But it's a 3-way. It is a 3-way tag match. KTB and Robbie Roller, known as the Do or Die Posse, they've been tagging together for quite a while now in UWA Elite. But even before that, it goes back to before they even turned 18. They trained at ECPW Junior Division.
Gotcha.
Which was for under 18s who wanted to train in professional wrestling. So they've been together as some sort of at least a friendship for the last 20 years, which is, amazing, especially in this business. Victor Atlas and Mr. Miller, relatively unknown to me.
Yep.
Because again, this is the Wrestling and Recovery Showcase. They are a partner of ours. They do amazing work, not only in the professional wrestling business, but just as an outreach to people who need the resources that they're able to provide. I think that it's invaluable. I think what Wrestling and Recovery does is something that is unique, but also, gives people an outlet to not only enjoy professional wrestling, but do something positive with their time. And Mr. Miller and Victor Atlas are being provided to our show by Wrestling and Recovery. And then TJ Blade, who happens to be the community outreach champion at Wrestling and Recovery, is going to tag with a well-known member of the Wrestling and Recovery roster, All Go Nelly, who again hadn't heard much about prior to this, but after learning about the Wrestling and Recovery Showcase and what we were going to be putting on here, couldn't be more excited to see All Go Nelly perform because I've done my studying and I've watched him perform, and he is not only just like a young up and comer who kind of mixes in with everyone else, but stands out. I mean, that's what's exciting about this match is that they're all kind of stand out in their own way, and I'm excited to see how it kind of comes to a point here. I know that the only really established long-term tag team in the match is the Do or Die Posse, but I know that Mr. Miller and Victor Atlas have been teaming for a little bit now, and I'm kind of interested to see what it happens. I mean, KTB and Robbie Roller are going to be a part of the constant roster moving forward. So even though this is kind of a Wrestling and Recovery Showcase match, it is kind of a showcase of people we're going to see in constant moving forward as well.
Understood. There you go. Definitely, we saw KTB at the last event challenging, trying to win the very first Constant Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Championship. Fortunately, not coming to fruition there for him, but still great member of the roster, and we'll see how they do in the showcase. Again, they have the experience there outside of TJ Blade with their time in the business, but we'll see again the actual team of Victor as well with Mr. Miller. I don't know. I can't trust them with their snake oil salesman though. So we got to be careful with that. We got to be careful what that means.
And I just want to mention that Robbie Roller might be like a relatively unknown name outside of like the UWA Elite bubble, but early on when Beyond Wrestling first started and was doing the shows before they became the Beyond Wrestling that we know now, Robbie Roller was involved with that stuff, and he's been around for a very long time, and probably the best kept secret in my opinion, talent wise, that we have on the show this month. Because I think when he's on and he's on his game, it's close to no one being as good as he could possibly be. So KTB and Roller together as a team is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Looking forward to seeing that then. There we go. But as we continue here, we have another explosive matchup, as it's going to be Sweet Cheeks, Joey Silver going head to head with explosive Eddie Thomas here, both coming off their previous matches at Constant. Joey, who was a part of the scramble at the last event, Eddie going head to head with none other than the good guy, bad guy, depending on the day, Azrael. but now we have some singles action here for the Renaissance.
Well, I think Azrael would argue with you in
No.
that and say that he is always the good guy.
Depends on how you see in the ring. We saw that night. I don't know how much of a good guy he was against Eddie Thomas.
Listen, it's all about how the fans receive him. He is who he is.
Yes.
But going to this match, I think it's an interesting dynamic. Eddie Thomas was, very, very supported by the fans in Avenel the last time he was there against Azrael. So I'm thinking that, he's going to get that same support from them. As far as like wrestling promo stuff, we haven't heard from either of them yet, so I don't know their mindset going into the match. But Joey Silver seems to be pretty consistent with who he is as a person. He just has fun, loves it, wants the fans involved, plays mind games with his opponents in the ring with the candy stuff. And, a lot of people don't understand this, but as a wrestler in the ring, you can downplay the role of the fans as much as you want. But when you're wrestling someone who has the utmost support from the fans in the ring, like that does something to your mentality in the match. So I'm interested to see how Eddie Thomas responds to fans cheering for Joey Silver. And I'm still kind of excited to see how Joey Silver is going to respond to the fans, supporting Eddie Thomas, because both of them got huge support, and one of them might get more cheers than the other one and might set someone off to be a little bit meaner than they expect to be.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that split goes. If we start seeing one almost have to be a little more aggressive because of that, seeing a different side of possibly one of the two competitors here. But again, it's going to be a wait and see as time gets closer, and also hearing what they have to say about one another, because again,
Right.
it's trying to get that momentum back after both not as successful at our last event there.
And people that have seen Joey Silver, at his best know that he's not just about the candy and the fun and games and the gyrating. Like he's not just that, like he is an excellent in-ring performer. He is an excellent wrestler technically, and he does a lot of things that not many people can do. So, I'm hopeful that Eddie Thomas in this match will not sleep on the fact that Joey Silver is capable of some pretty amazing things in the ring.
We will see. But as we continue here, we have a matchup I'm definitely looking forward to, as it's the Breakthrough Showcase. Very much you see a lot of young up-and-comers in this one, as we have someone with, again, that experience in BT Bull. We have Sturdy Sal, Ace Christian, Trey Felipe, Ty Thomas, and Ryan O'Neal. Flying Ryan O'Neal. This one,
That's
it definitely promises to be very fast-paced and high, just octane action in this one.
But I think with most of the scramble matches that we've put together,
Yeah.
it's not just high flying and fast paced. I think it's a great mix of all different styles. If you're not familiar with who Ace Christian is, he is from Western Pennsylvania, wrestles a little bit down south, is kind of a relative unknown. He's 19 years old. So a kid like that, he's messaging the constant Instagram and saying, "Hey, check me out." And just like Malik Delvante, who was on our first show because he reached out and made an impression on how he carried himself, by trying to get us to get or trying to get our attention. Ace Christian is similar in the same way, where he, just took a shot, messaged us. I took a look at his stuff, and I was impressed by what his potential could be. And I'm hoping that that potential is seen at a high level in this match. Trey Felipe, someone who has, we mentioned earlier, Azrael, someone who has had a lot of interactions with some big name long-term members of the wrestling community, and has learned valuable lessons in those situations. And I think that he's not young, but he's not old, and he is deceptively. He calls himself the Fresh Fleet, but he's. I don't want to come off negative, but when you see Trey Felipe, at least pictures of him, he looks like a lightweight, but he's 6'1". He's 200 pounds. Like he's not your typical 5'10", 170. Like, he's not a small guy,
He
but
isn't, but then he does the insane things that he
right,
does.
but he can fly. So that's what's unique about a guy like him, is where, he has the style where if you're just watching him on video, you feel like he might be a smaller guy than he actually
Then
is.
you see him, and it's like,
Yeah, but then you see
yeah,
him, so he's got it all,
yeah,
so it's kind of up to him, how he performs in this match. He has the ability to be the guy in this match.
yeah.
BT Bull, 6'4", close to 300 pounds, just a monster of a human being, and could definitely run through a lot of these guys just on his strength alone. And then you got, someone like Sturdy Sal, who took Homicide to his limit on our very first show. And again, wasn't, when he was, announced, there wasn't a lot of huge expectation for him, or at least some noise for who he is. But he showed up, and he was, super impressive. So to have him back again for this show, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be able to see what he's going to do. I mean, I don't think Flying Ryan O'Neal at this point needs that big of an introduction. He's become some sort of, I don't want to say indie darling, as much as like he's been able to make his way on a lot of the GCW shows, and for him to be as young as he is and to impress the people that he has, I think it's pretty impressive to me that he's been able to do that kind of stuff. And then Ty Thomas comes to us as the last UWA Elite champion ever. And again, I think that someone from the outside looking in would kind of sleep on his ability, because he's not like over the top flashy. He's not going to do these planchas. He's not going to do this. But what he is very solid and very effective. So from a perspective of someone who's watching this and putting things together, there's a lot of different styles, and there's a lot of different ways this thing can go. If someone's able to slow it down and do things at their own pace, then I think, BT Bull's got a huge shot. I think Sturdy Sal's got a huge shot. But if it does get chaotic and people start flying around, then you never know what an Ace Christian can, sneak up and take a pin, or Trey Felipe can, do the things that he's capable of doing at 6'1", 200 pounds, but still super athletic. So it's super exciting, and I'm excited to have the ability to give all 6 of these guys a shot to, showcase what they got, and hopefully break through to the main, or at least consistent roster, and be here every month with us.
That's what I love again about the breakthrough, like the idea of a breakthrough division or a breakthrough showcase here, because you really get to see that very clash of styles, and very much the ability to see multiple just in a match like this. Like, I think that's where, unfortunately, the scramble, people don't see it for where it really could be, because a match like this,
Right.
you get to see now that clash, and you get to see so many different styles in there, and so many different competitors, that it gives you the opportunity to really, again, showcase.
Yeah, and what I love about
this-
it too is like, the main companies out there, like your WWEs and your AEWs, they don't do stuff like this because everyone's got to be under contract, and
Mhm.
you have your set roster, and for us as an indie fed, we are capable of continuously refreshing and
Yes.
bringing in new talent, and trying to, find ways to keep it fresh. And I love this idea of, hey man, why not give this guy a shot, or why not give this girl a shot? And this is our way of being able to do that.
Definitely. But from that, we now go into this one here, that this is another Pat Dynamite just going through the test here.
I'm sorry, when I see Charles Mason, I just go, "Ah!"
That's exactly why I'm like, I don't want to say anything bad about Charles Mason, because I'm worried about my safety. But
Yeah.
we have Pat Dynamite going head to head here with the root of all evil, Charles Mason. Again, this is a match. These two definitely don't need introductions when it comes to this, as
Right.
very well known, especially in the area. But just to see the avenues that both of these have taken, and just the evolution both have gone through in their careers, with Pat Dynamite. It's no secret of the history with Young, Dumb, and Broke, but seeing his own breakthrough and what he's become, even at Constant, just seeing the performances he's had from even the last event where unfortunately Card Subject to Change came into play, but still put on a hell of a match with Junie Underwood that I feel like that was one of those that was talked about for the whole night.
Yep.
Matchup right there.
And I don't know how Pat feels about outside of Constant, where his career is at or what he does, but all I know is that when I look at Pat Dynamite, I see unlimited potential and the ability to do things in the ring that create magic. And I wish more people saw it, but selfishly, I'm glad that like he's available to us. So,
It does work out.
yeah, I mean, the more people understand how good you are, the less available you become. And for us to be able to hold on to someone like Pat Dynamite, and put on amazing matches with Speedball Mike Bailey, and he was even part of the original Quest series. And if anyone goes back, I mean, listen, I'll be the first one to admit that not a lot of people have seen the Quest, but when I go back and watch it, Pat to me is stands out as one of the guys that you go into it saying, all right, he's a younger guy and he's not Azrael and he's not he's not Ian Gone, the guys that you know coming into it. But it would be hard to not admit that Pat Dynamite might be the MVP of the Quest in terms of the match quality that he put on. And this match actually came about because I talked to Pat and I said, hey man, like, you wrestled Junie, you did a great job. You wrestled Speedball, you did a great job. So like, where do we go from here? Like, where do you see yourself going? Do you want, the ability to move your way up and kind of take a shot at being a champion here? Or, do you want to showcase your talent a little bit more and harness your skills? And he said, I really want to test myself against someone that, is top level right now. And Charles Mason was on our first show. He's the only person in Constant Wrestling that has beaten Kwesi Asante. So, we felt like if Pat's going to prove himself, why not put him with, someone who arguably is one of the best wrestlers on the indie scene right now. And I would say top 10 on the indie scene right now in terms of what they can do in the ring, but also theatrically and just character wise. There's not many people that are willing to go places that Charles Mason can go, and for good reason, because they don't want to be convicted of murder. But like
Again,
Charles Mason,
this is why I'm
what
very scared of what I'm saying here about Charles.
yeah, in terms of measuring sticks,
Yeah.
on the indies, there's not really many people that you can put yourself next to like Charles Mason and say, okay, I'm good enough, or I feel like I can hang with him, because and this is gonna sound weird, but even as the House of Glory champion, and even as a mainstay in GCW, I still think that Charles Mason is underrated.
Okay.
I just feel like he is. I feel like, people see the extracurricular version of him and see, the plastic bags over the heads and the licking and like the like he is just
Very sadistic style. Yes.
yeah,
Very.
yeah.
Yeah.
They see the sadistic nature of who he is, and some of that drowns out the technical ability that he is able to do. And
Okay. So okay, I can see that. So it's more of they see
yeah,
the flash, but not the actual meat and potatoes in a sense.
yeah,
No, that makes sense.
and even I think if you stripped Charles Mason down and even asked him, hey man, like tone down the creepiness and just go out there and wrestle, he would still be a dominant, wrestler in our business. So I think not only is it a good test for Pat Dynamite, but I think people would be surprised to hear me say it's also, I think, a good test for Charles Mason, because he is well known, but I don't know if he's coming into this underrating Pat Dynamite, and if he does, I think he's going to be kind of shocked to see what he's on. Because even Speedball came into his match the first time when they wrestled when he wrestled Pat Dynamite, and I don't think he knew how hard. You could just see it in his face with the kicks and and everything he was doing. He had to empty every bag of tricks he had to put Pat Dynamite away.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Unfortunately, in a match like this, I feel like for Mason, it's like here's another match. Again, with the schedule he has currently holding that HOG heavyweight title, the JCW title, the PWJ title. Like he's going in this, it's another victim. And I feel like if he unfortunately does that, he will have that same issue like a Speedball, where again, it was a match that it could have been any other night. That match went an insane amount of time, and he learned what Pat Dynamite's about. Same with Judy Underwood. That last match, I feel like me, Corvus, and Emil, we're just like, what are they going to do next? Like it just became a moment after moment type of matchup. And I feel like this is going to be another one of those where it's going to be losing voices by the end of the match.
That's for sure.
Two just high caliber opponents here, but again, we will see how it goes on April 11th. But again, right there, that could be it. Those matches, we could call it a night, but there's still 3 more, including this next one that is going to determine the number 1 contender for that constant heavyweight championship, as we have Malik Del Vante, Corey Dillinger, Griffin McCoy, and Drake Chambers. And all I'm thinking is Malik and Corey are in the ring again after the insane pounce we saw.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that regardless of Corey getting a lot of the, I'm trying to use the right word. I wouldn't say notoriety, but like the buzz from their first match, like it was still a hard fought battle, and I think Malik proved, Malik proved just how good he can be. And although Corey won the match, it was the match itself that stood out from a lot of the other matches that night, and the two of them I feel like deserve the ability to prove themselves once again. Corey for winning the match, Malik for putting on the performance he did, and in terms of trying to find a number 1 contender, I don't think there's harm in throwing Malik in this match anyway. A lot of people might look like, well, hey, Malik lost. Why would he be in the number 1 contendership match? And to me, it says, we wanted 4 guys. We want to really open up the ability for someone to come in and earn a shot. And for me, win or loss, Malik performed at such a high level that I think it would be silly for us not to acknowledge how well he performed. Griffin was the main event of our very first show. He stepped in and he, performed unbelievably against arguably one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, in Jay Lethal. And Griffin is everything we stand for. He works hard. He dominates when he's in the ring. He's got a little bit of edge to him. And while some people might misconstrue it for arrogance, he backs it up. He does his job. He does it well, and he deserves to be in the spotlight. And then the last one, Drake Chambers, a lot of people, even Jordan Oliver included, think that, he got away with one by pinning Jordan Oliver. But, this is the guy that Drake Chambers is. Pat Dynamite came up to me when we started booking Drake Chambers and said it was his dream match to wrestle Drake Chambers, because of the stuff that he had seen from him earlier in his career. And for me, that speaks volumes about who Drake Chambers is and what he's capable of. And the people who are thinking that this is just kind of like a fluke that he beat Jordan Oliver are going to be pretty surprised, if he's the one at the end of the night with his hand raised, and he's going after the winner of Kwesi and Gangone in May. So, each one of them have a very good claim on why they could be the number 1 contender. And and again, same thing with the scramble match that we talked about earlier. It's a clash of styles. Drake Chambers, high flyer. Malik Delvante, fast paced. Corey Dillinger, dominant big man, and Griffin McCoy, all around striker. So all four of these guys have the ability to separate themselves in the different avenues that they take in terms of their own styles. And it's going to be interesting to see which guy lasts the longest and becomes our new number one contender.
Again, each one of them has that argument of why they should be the number one contender. Even anyone that argues why Malik shouldn't be in a match like this, just seeing the performer he is alone, not even just the last match at Constant, he is someone that even myself has really made me a fan of, and is someone that can really outshine anyone in that ring. And it's going to be a hard one with these four competitors. Even Jake Chambers, I remember we spoke about the last time we did the podcast, and I wasn't as familiar. Getting to see him at the last event, he also really sold me on just the type of performer he is, the type of competitor. And with that win with Jordan Oliver proves he's going to be a very big namestay here at Constant, and should be in more areas as well. So,
right. Let's not forget, again, we talked about it earlier, that the quest is something that I am very, proud of.
yes.
And regardless of if someone has seen it or not, like Drake Chambers, got to the finals of the quest against Anthony Gangone. So him, he's kind of proven himself in our own, world. And maybe on the outside looking in, they're not very familiar, but to us, he's proved himself plenty of times. And Malik Delvante, again, won the very first Constant match ever.
Yep.
Beat Brandon Kirk, who, before retirement was, one of the biggest names on the indies, was doing JCW stuff, was an ultraviolent champion, mainstay in a lot of promotions in the area. And to have that kind of victory to start the Constant show, I don't think the loss to Corey is as important as the performance against Corey was, and as he performed against Brandon Kirk.
No, agreed. Definitely agreed. And again, we will see who walks away and who will be having their R's in our main event. But I almost forgot. I said there was 4 matches left. We still have one more that I could not get the graphic because the graphic wasn't posted. It was a part of videos, but there was a sole graphic and he's gonna get mad at me again. I got to be very careful that night because Matt Vertigo already feels away. But we have the New York Drip, Matt Vertigo, going head to head with Ron Voyage, and this one coming off of the last event as well, where Ron getting his moment, having that time in the ring, and an angry Matt Vertigo just causing utter chaos at the event there.
Yeah, I think, well, both of them are reaching like a boiling point in their own respective ways. Ron, victory over Homicide at our very first show, comes into a scramble match where it's not exactly his cup of tea and still outlasts the competition, including Matt Vertigo. And he's been pretty impressive with what he can do. And what I love about watching him perform is that he's always doing new things. But he's also getting the crowd into it and, enjoying what he's doing in the ring. And Vertigo might say the exact opposite. Was involved in a 3-way match on our very first show against Sean Smith and Junie Underwood. Didn't get the opportunity to win that match. Had an opportunity, was there, and kind of got sneaked out of it by Junie. And I think a lot of what we're seeing from Vertigo is this idea that, he's always one step away from being who he wants to be. He's always one step away from winning a match or taking what he thinks belongs to him in terms of like his spot on our roster. And that frustration is kind of boiled over to the point where Ron has become the victim of that frustration. And, I can see why, looking at Ron, you would say to yourself, at least, like, he's a joke and he's dancing and he's getting a conga line. And a guy like Vertigo might look at him and say, like, he doesn't even take this seriously. But, 2-0 in Constant wrestling is not something you can argue with the results that he's getting. So
I was
who's
gonna say,
Matt Vertigo?
it's kind of hard to argue that, especially
Yeah,
if we win
who
over out of everyone homicide.
yeah,
Like I
and
said it on
who is
commentary.
Matt Vertigo to argue what the right way to go about doing things is? So I can see from Vertigo's perspective that Ron's not taking it seriously, but you know dude's 2-0. He beat Homicide, and he pinned someone. I can't I honestly can't remember who he pinned in the scramble match, but he beat 5 other people. So in total, there was 11 or 10 people in the first pilot, the JAP wild card, and to put them all together, Ron Voyage has beaten 15 people in constant wrestling. He's outlasted 15 people. So and Matt Vertigo is still 0-2 and hasn't outlasted anyone. So in terms of like who's being taken seriously, I think Ron might have a better argument for.
He just might at the moment. He just
Yeah.
might. And I don't know if Matt Vertigo is going to like these comments. I hope he isn't watching right now.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about results, right? So if Vertigo
Yeah.
wants to get angry about it, that's fine. Prove it.
There you go. There we go. But from there, we're going to go into this one that we've heard comments made by both gentlemen in this matchup, even one earlier today. And that is a little bit of a student versus teacher, the mentor versus the mentee, as we have Junie Underwood going head to head with the brain, Jordan Oliver here. And this one, since I saw it announced, I'm like, there's a lot to prove in this one now.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to me to hear Junie Underwood refer to Jordan as his teacher when I was there when Jordan was 16 years old, showing up for the very first. So it's weird for me to have someone like say that about him, but I think it speaks a lot to who Jordan is.
Yes.
And yes, I've like 10 years in the game and stuff. Let's push all that aside. He's still 26 years old. He's still a very young wrestler, and for Junie to look at Jordan the way he does, and for Jordan to have that relationship with him, it's more impressive that Jordan has been able to put himself in that position in the very short time that he's been in wrestling, that people respect him so much, that he's still such a young guy, but people look at him that way is pretty amazing to me. And the words, I mean, I guess I'm not really that surprised based on the last performance. Jordan kind of, wasn't exactly nice about how he was talking with Drake Chambers, so or even how the crowd reacted. So I guess I shouldn't be shocked that Jordan would come across as, a little confrontational with Junie, and talking about how, I mean, the line about if you take this match as anything but a learning experience, I'm going to have to cross that line. Wow. I mean,
Yeah, that was something I did not expect. Because again, getting to see these two, like they've taken the roads together now. Jordan has taken him under his wing a bit, and to see that, it's not something you usually think from, again, someone you're helping, and you're helping with their evolution here. But it also could just be, again, one of those situations of tough love.
I was going to say, it could be tough love. Could be
Like
tough love.
we've seen that
I mean,
before. We've seen
but
it, like even with yourself. When you wrestled Jordan, I feel like you've given him a little
of
tough love
course,
there at
yeah.
times. So
And if what he was looking for out of Junie was to get angry enough that he was going to challenge himself to prove it, then I mean, mission accomplished. Because the words that we got from Junie Underwood today, where he talks about proving himself, and that Jordan should be the first person to not tell him that it's just about a learning experience and that he's going for the win. I mean, the emotion is there, and I'm excited to see that two great performers are going to put on an emotional matchup together against each other, and it's not just going to be about wins and losses, and it's going to be about way more than that, and proving is the teacher still the teacher, is the student still the student, or has the student learned enough where he can be free and fly free. And that's gonna be what's exciting to watch about that one.
No, very much. And again, we're going to see that. And I feel like it would be a perfect thing for Jordan to try to do. Again, they call him the brain for a reason, to play that reverse psychology there and make Junie get that fired up and get that fighting spirit in there. Or he could just, again, mean it. He could want to do the tough love.
Yeah, he could
hey,
just mean it.
He's at a point now where, again, now he's on our televisions. He's on something that we've always talked about that was, it was inevitable that we would see Jordan Oliver on a TV screen. So he's also at that point where it's just, hey, this is a different level now. This is a whole different type of match. But we'll see. We will see what happens on April 11th there. But we still have one more match to discuss here. It is the main event. It is for that constant heavyweight championship here, as we have defending champion Kwesi Asante going head to head with Dr. Sleep Anthony Gangone. After their matchup at the last event there. Now it's 1-on-1. There's no interruptions. There's no one else involved here. And look at that. Before we go to that, we got Junie in the chat there saying, I am fired up. See, there we go. So, and here we go. We got Kwesi in the chat as well. There we go. But again, this one, now that's it. There is no Griffin McCoy in this one. There is no KTB. It is a straight up 1-on-1 contest here. And I hope Kwesi learned this time to make sure to double tap.
Yeah, double tap and triple tap, I believe you said. And I think the words that we should really pay attention to Kwesi about is that it's not just about maintaining the championship. He also brought up the fact that it's about, there's people that probably think that, he wasn't worthy of winning that spot because, like you said, Griffin McCoy was in the match and KTB was in the match, and it was kind of like there are other people involved, and there's not really anything other than just you and Gangone now in the spotlight. How are you going to perform? And as someone who is promoting a professional wrestling product and your champion is kind of going to be the face of it, I wouldn't have it any other way than having Kwesi prove himself. And having to go in there with a guy like Gangone who has, I don't want to say done it all, but has done more in this wrestling business than a lot of the guys that will ever walk through Constant Wrestling's door. He's done way more than anyone gives him credit for. The names that he's been in there with, and like I know the measuring stick lingo is, he's hung with those guys, but I don't even think that does it justice. I don't think he's been okay with just hanging with, the top levels of this game. He's shown that at some points he's been, even better than the top guys in this game. He had a run as a major champion and wrestled some of the guys that are in the top tiers of the professional wrestling world right now. And when we say that, I'm not saying like Ring of Honor world. I'm not saying like GCW world. I'm saying like WWE world. Like the
current WWE champion right now.
Yeah, exactly. And for anyone who doesn't know their Anthony Gangone history, just put his name in the YouTube and take a look at the things that this guy has done. And I dare you not to be impressed by what he's done. And not just by the names that he's been attached to, but the performances that he's put on. It's not just about getting, and I'm sorry if I'm going to, tear down the fourth wall here, but like, any mark with money can book someone to be against to give themselves name value, but it's not about that. It's about getting into the ring and being able to compete at a high level. And there is not a single person on our roster that has done more of that than Dr. Sleep Anthony Gangone. And I think Kwesi knows that. He's not dumb. He's very smart. He knows, what he's going to be expected to do, and maybe even the dark places that he has to go. And I think the best part of a guy like Kwesi is that he's not just relying on himself and he's not just trying to prove it to himself, but he relies on the energy of the fans. He relies on the energy of his ancestors and the people that have come before him. And he talks a lot about his grandmother and the inspiration that he gets from his family. And I think that's the perfect formula to compete with a guy like Anthony Gangone, where it's not just about, oh, I need to prove myself because I want to be the best champion I could be. It's, there's a lot of people relying on my ability to do the things that I do. And Kwesi is exactly that person, that he draws inspiration from, a lot of different avenues and a lot of different places. And he's been through a lot at a young age, and he still does it with a smile. And he even finished his words for Anthony Gangone, finished with I'm gonna whip that ass and I'm gonna laugh my way through it. I'm gonna laugh doing it. So I love that kind of mentality where he's not willing to bring himself to, oh, I need to be serious and I have to be mean and I have to draw a line in the sand about who I am as a performer. He is who he is, and he's gonna have fun doing it. And honestly, even if he loses, I think that at this point, you could argue that he's proven, depending on how the match goes, he's proven that he's someone that's willing to not change who he is in a certain scenario to just rise to the next level. He that's where he gets his inspiration, is by being who he is, and I love everything about it. It's the big bison right there.
Yeah, and that's one of those situations with this that I think we are going to see again what that will take again, and seeing just the type of performer he is. We saw it in the 4-way, where taking that energy from the fan base, taking that energy from the ancestors, as he says, and I think it's going to be one of those where I'm glad we're not doing predictions here. We're not doing anything like that, because it would be a hard one to call. Because as much as I can be very biased about someone that I know very well, like Anthony Gangone, Kwesi showed me that night just what type of performer he is. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, again, how this will do now one-on-one and in that main event on April 11th.
And I'm kind of interested to see, what version of Anthony Gangone we get. Does Gangone try to change the way that he's been acting, or the way that he acted in the 4-way? Does he try to, play more mind games? Does he, like, what kind of version of Dr. Sleep are we going to get here? Because it's not just about the physical warfare that we're going to see in the ring, but it's also the psychological and what kind of messing with Kwesi's mentality and attitude are we going to get.
And the worst part is now it's just he only has his eyes on Kwesi here. There is no one else. He's not sharing the attention with a Griffin, a KTB. So that might even be worse for Kwesi Asante, because now the doctor's all eyes on him. And, and you know it very well, because you've been in there with him countless times. And you know what that means.
Multiple times. And I think just going back to our own product for a minute,
yes.
Dominated the Quest, and if you're not familiar with the Quest, we ranked based on performance in the ring. And one of those things is control rate and strike rate. And there was not another person who controlled more time in the ring than Gangone. And then if you go to our first show, Pilot, where Gangone wrestled, Sean Damage McNellis, just squeezed the life out of him. There's a difference between winning a wrestling match because you are executing at a high level the moves that you do, and then there's a guy like Gangone who wins matches because he breaks the will of his opponent, and he makes the opponent realize, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm still going to be put through some torturous moments here, and then that could make someone's brain shut down and not want to compete anymore. And that's what, a guy like Anthony Gangone is capable of doing.
Definitely so. Again, we will see, but we got that in the chat right there. As Kwesi saying, the biggest bison. There we go. We will see. Can the bison outlast Dr. Sleep? We will see. And that is all going down Saturday, April 11th, right there. Constant Pro Wrestling presents The Renaissance. Make sure you get your tickets now. ticket link in the description down below, as well as to follow all things Constant Pro Wrestling. If you haven't already, make sure you're following them right there on Instagram, constant_wrestling. Follow them on X right there at WrestleConstant, and make sure you stay up to date because, again, like we announced earlier and we talked about, a lot more coming from Constant Pro Wrestling in 2026. And it all starts with an event just like this in just a few short weeks. So, any last words, Arcadia, for everyone watching at home?
No, I honestly just look forward to seeing you and talking to you, and I'm excited to have the ability to do it again. It's really one of the more fun parts of this is that I know that when I put on a show, I get to be able to talk to you about it, and it makes me happy that I'm able to do that. But overall, I'm just excited for the show. I can't wait for it to happen, and I hope that other people are willing to come out and give us a chance. Tickets are available. Get them now, and we'll see you on the 11th.
There we go. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait to be there, and it's going to be a night to remember. But guys, just in case, again, get those tickets right now. Go to the link in the description down below. But as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, everybody. And